Okay, good morning. So, in previous lecture, we discussed regarding the functions of central nervous system. Now, we start with the structure and functions of central nervous system in today's lecture. Now, first of all, the developmental name given to the parts of central nervous system that we discussed today. Now, see, the first of all, the brain. So central nervous system, it is made up of brain and spinal cord. Now the brain is further divided into the three parts. That first one is the forebrain. First part is the forebrain. Then second one is the midbrain. And third one is the hindbrain. So these are the parts of brain. Now see what happens. This forebrain, it is also called as prosencephalon. The forebrain is also called as the prosencephalon. Midbrain, it is also called as the mesencephalon. Mesen means mid. Mesencephalon is the midbrain. And hindbrain, it is also called as rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon. So these are the developmental name given to the parts of brain. The central nervous system, it is made up of brain, spinal cord. Now brain, it is further divided into the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. The forebrain, it is also called as a prosencephalon. Midbrain, it is also called as the mesencephalon, and the hindbrain, it is also called as the rhombencephalon. Now, what are the parts of forebrain? The parts of forebrain. Now, this forebrain, it is of the prosencephalon. So, it is made up of that first one, that is the cerebral cortex. The forebrain, it is made up of the cerebral cortex. Forebrain, the parts of forebrain, so it is made up of the cerebral cortex. Then there are nuclei present in this cerebral cortex, and these nuclei are called as the corpus striatum. Corpus striatum. Now remember, these are the masses of grey matter present in white matter. These are the nuclei which present in each cerebral hemisphere. Now this cerebral cortex, it is also called as a telencephalon. The telencephalon is the another name given to the cerebral cortex. Now we just today discussed the developmental name given to the central nervous system. Now the forebrain, that is prosencephalon. Then prosencephalon, it is made up of the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex, it is also called as a telencephalon. Then another part present in the forebrain, that is corpus striatum. What is corpus striatum? So these are the masses of grey matter present in white matter of cerebrum. Then another part of the forebrain, that is diencephalon. Diencephalon. Now this diencephalon, it is made up of, in that first part, which is made up of diencephalon, so that is thalamus. Dien means two. It lies in between two cerebral hemisphere. So that is thalamus. Then another part of diencephalon, that is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. Then the diencephalon, it is made up of thalamus, hypothalamus. Then it is also made up of diencephalon. So it is also made up of the epithalamus. Now this epithalamus, it consists of number one, that is pineal gland. Epithalamus, it is made up of pineal gland first, then it is also made up of the subnuclear nucleus, and third part of this epithalamus, that is subnuclear striae. Subnuclear striae. Then the diencephalon, the another structure present in the diencephalon, so that is metathalamus. Now this metathalamus, it consists of two rounded bodies. So first rounded body is called as the medial geniculate body, and second one, that is the lateral geniculate body. So these are the parts of metathalamus. Understand? So we revise here first the forebrain, the structure forming the forebrain. In that first one, that is telencephalon. Telencephalon, it is also called as cerebral cortex. In that cerebral cortex, the white matter present. In white matter, there are masses of grey matter present, and these masses of grey matter called as the corpus striatum. Then forebrain, it is also consists of made up of diencephalon. Diencephalon, it is made up of thalamus, the rounded bodies, then hypothalamus, then epithalamus. Epithalamus, it is made up of pineal gland, subnuclear nucleus, and third one, that is subnuclear striae. Then fourth structure present in diencephalon, that is metathalamus. The metathalamus, it is made up of medial geniculate body and lateral geniculate body. These are the quadrangular bodies, medial as well as laterally present in relation with the cerebral cortex. So these are the parts of forebrain. Now next, that is the midbrain. The midbrain. Now this midbrain, so it is made up of cerebral peduncles. It is made up of cerebral peduncles. So this is gross idea about the structure forming central nervous system, that is brain. Understand? So the midbrain, it is made up of cerebral peduncles. Now this cerebral peduncles has three parts, which are there in that first part of the cerebral peduncle. So that is called as the tegmentum. So that is called as the tegmentum. Remember, it is part of cerebral peduncle, and cerebral peduncle, these are the parts of midbrain. Understand? The second part forming the second cerebral peduncle, that is substantia nigra. Substantia nigra. Nigra means black. Substantia nigra. And the third part of the cerebral peduncle, that is base of peduncle. Base of peduncle. Okay. So these are the parts of cerebral peduncle, and cerebral peduncle is a part of midbrain. Understand? Then another second part of the cerebral midbrain, so that is tectum. Tectum, second part, that is tectum. Now this tectum, it is made up of four bodies, that superior colliculus, and inferior colliculus. So these are the parts of tectum. So remember, the parts of midbrain. The midbrain, it is made up of cerebral peduncle and tectum. The cerebral peduncle, it is made up of tegmentum, substantia nigra, base of peduncle. And tectum, it is made up of superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. Remember, this is gross idea about structure forming brain or the central nervous system. We discuss each and every part in detail in next lecture. So this is basic idea about the central nervous system. Then the next part of the brain, that is hindbrain. So that is hindbrain. The hindbrain. The hindbrain, it is made up of two parts. In that first part is the metencephalon. And the second part which forming the hindbrain, so that is myelencephalon. So these are the parts of hindbrain, which are the metencephalon as well as myelencephalon. The metencephalon, so it is made up of cerebellum and pons. It is made up of cerebellum and pons. And myelencephalon, it is made up of medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. So these are the parts of brain. I repeat, the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. So these are the parts of brain. Now the forebrain, it is made up of telencephalon and diencephalon. The telencephalon, it is also called as the cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex, it consists of grey matter and white matter, that we discuss in later lecture. But in white matter there are masses of grey matter present, and these masses of grey matter are called as the corpus striatum. Then another structure component of the forebrain, that is diencephalon. The diencephalon, it is made up of thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus and metathalamus. So out of that epithalamus, it is made up of pineal gland or the pineal body, then subnuclear nucleus and subnuclear striatum. Then metathalamus, it is made up of medial geniculate body and lateral geniculate body. Then the midbrain, it is made up of cerebral peduncle and tectum. The cerebral peduncle, it is made up of tegmentum, substantia nigra and base of peduncle. And tectum is made up of superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. Remember, midbrain is made up of cerebral peduncle and tectum. The cerebral peduncles, the parts of cerebral peduncles, which consist of tegmentum, substantia nigra and base of peduncle. Then tectum, the parts of tectum, the superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. Then last part of the brain, functional division here, the hindbrain. The hindbrain, it is made up of metencephalon and myelencephalon. The metencephalon consists of cerebellum and pons. Myelencephalon consists of medulla oblongata. Okay, so we start with the next, that is cerebrum. Now cerebrum, it is a big brain, the biggest brain or the big brain of central, big part of the central nervous system. Now this cerebrum, the definition of the cerebrum, so it is the largest part of brain. It consists of two cerebral hemispheres which are incompletely separated from each other by a median longitudinal fissure. Cerebrum, it is the largest part of brain. It consists of two cerebral hemispheres, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. But these two hemispheres incompletely separated by a fissure, and that fissure is called as median longitudinal fissure. The average weight of cerebrum is 1.5 kg. So what is median longitudinal fissure? So it is a fissure, its base is formed by corpus callosum. What is corpus callosum? It is a white fiber which connect the two cerebral hemisphere from inferior or the lowermost side. So remember, the cerebrum, it is the largest part of brain. It consists of two cerebral hemispheres, right and left, incompletely separated by a fissure, medial longitudinal fissure. The base of medial longitudinal fissure, it is formed by a corpus callosum. Now this medial longitudinal fissure, what it consists? It consists of a fold of dura mater, and name of this fold of dura mater is falx cerebri. So that fold present between two cerebral hemisphere, that fold present between median longitudinal fissure, or the median longitudinal fissure consists of a fold of dura mater, so that is falx cerebri. Now this cerebral hemisphere, so it consists of outer and inner layer. The outer layer, it is made up of grey matter. The outermost layer, it is made up of grey matter, and the inner layer or the central portion is made up of white matter. Remember, this structure also present in cerebellum. The outermost layer is made up of grey matter and innermost layer is made up of white matter. But exactly opposite structure we found in brain stem. In brain stem, what happened? So the outer layer is made up of white matter and inner layer is made up of grey matter. Brain stem consists of midbrain, pons, medulla, spinal cord. Spinal cord also. So the same structure present in spinal cord. So that is the what you can say, the variation in the structure of cerebrum, cerebellum, and another parts of central nervous system like the pons, medulla, as well as the spinal cord. Now this cerebral hemisphere, it consists of a cavity inside, and this cavity is called as the lateral ventricle. Now we study the external features of cerebrum. Each cerebral hemisphere, it has three surfaces. Which are they? The surfaces are three in number. In that first surface is superior lateral surface. The superior lateral surface. The second one, that is medial surface, and third one, that is inferior surface. Now superior lateral surface, suppose that is this is a cerebral hemisphere. Now this is superior lateral surface. Say it is convex, and superior lateral surface related with the inner aspect of skull. Then this is medial surface. It is flat and vertical. The medial surface related with falx cerebri. Falx cerebri. And this is inferior surface. It is irregular. It is further divided into the two parts, the anterior and posterior. The anterior portion, it is called as the orbital surface, and the posterior portion, it is called as the tentorial surface. So three surfaces to the each cerebral hemisphere. The first one is convex, that is superior lateral. It is related with the skull, the inner part of the skull. Then the medial surface, the flat one, it is related with falx cerebri. What is falx cerebri? It is a fold of dura mater. And third one, that is inferior. The inferior surface further divided into two parts, the anterior and posterior. The anterior portion, it lies just above to the orbit. That's why this is orbital part. And the tentorial surface, it lies just above to the tentorium cerebelli. What is tentorium cerebelli? It is fold of dura mater which present between cerebrum and cerebellum. The portion which lies just above to the tentorium cerebelli, that portion of cerebrum, that portion of inferior surface of the cerebrum is called as the tentorial part or the tentorial surface. Then it has got four borders, the superior medial, inferior lateral, and medial orbital, as well as medial occipital. Four borders. Then see, this is the cerebral hemisphere. So it has got three poles. It has got three poles and four lobes. Three poles and four lobes. Remember, each cerebral hemisphere has three poles as well as four lobes. Now first of all, what are the lobes? The four lobes are, see, this is frontal lobe, lies on the anterior aspect. See, this is parietal lobe, lies on the superior most part of the each cerebral hemisphere. and this is occipital lobe, lies on the posterior most part of the cerebral hemisphere, and this is a temporal lobe. So each cerebral hemisphere is made up of 4 lobes. The anterior one, that is frontal one, the superior one, that is parietal one, the posterior one, that is occipital lobe, and the lateral one, that is temporal lobe. Then each cerebral hemisphere has 3 poles. What is pole? The pole, it is nothing but the prominent end of each lobe. So there is a projection or prominent part of each lobe, that is called as the poles. Now say this is the prominent part of frontal lobe, and this is called as the frontal pole. What is frontal pole? It is a prominent part of frontal lobe. Now say this is prominent part of occipital lobe, and this is called as the occipital pole. And see this one, so this is again the prominent portion of temporal lobe, and that is called as the temporal pole. So this is the external features of cerebrum, or the parts of central nervous system. Now we just discuss the functions of each lobe. Okay. Now in that, the frontal lobe, it is for the voluntary motor functions. It is for the motivation. It is for the smell. The olfactory bulb present in frontal lobe. So these are the general function. We discuss here the general functions of each lobe. First of all, the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe, it is functioning for the voluntary motor functions. Whatever the voluntary motor functions. So these are the main functions of the frontal lobe. Then next, that is the motivation and smell. Then the parietal lobe, the functions of the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe, so it is for the evaluation of most sensory input. जितना भी सेंसेशन हमारे बॉडी से आएगा उसको इवेल्युएट करने का काम, इंटरप्रिटेशन या प्रोसेसिंग करने का काम जो करेगा, so that is parietal lobe. Except the smell, hearing and vision. जितने भी सेंसरी इनपुट है हमारे, सेंसरी जो सेंसेशन लेकर जाएगा हमारे पीएनएस, उसको इवेल्युएट करने का काम कौन करेगा? parietal lobe. But exception is there. Exception क्या मिलेगा यहाँ पर? Smell, the hearing and vision. Then the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe, it is for the vision. It consists of the centers of vision, the visual centers present in occipital lobe. Then the next, that is the parietal temporal lobe. The temporal lobe, it is made up for smell, it is for the hearing, it is for the memory, it is abstract the thought, and it is for the judgment. So these are the basic functions of each lobe. I repeat, the frontal lobe, so it is for the voluntary motor functions, motivation and smell. The parietal, so evaluation of the sensory input except the smell, hearing and vision. Occipital, it is for the vision. Temporal, it is for the hearing, it is for the memory, it is for the judgment, it is for the abstract the various thoughts. Now another lobe also present here, that is insula. Insula is the another lobe present here. So the insula, so the functions of this insula, another lobe, functional lobe present here. So it is functioning for the visceral motor as well as abdominal sensations. Visceral motor functions कौन से हमारे? So the belching as well as the gastric movements. और sensory movements, visceral sensory movements कौन से? That is the nausea. So these are the functions of the insula. So these are the basic functions of each lobe. Now in next lecture we discuss the various areas present over the superior lateral surface of the cerebrum, the medial surface of the cerebrum with their functions. Thank you.